Hello, you nerds. When it comes to mobile games of the 2010s, you may think of classics like Pixel Gun 3D, Angry Birds, Call of Mini Zombies, or many other real classics. But what about this Mario-inspired game called Lep's World? I'm sure you've at least remembered searching up Mario on the App Store, only to find this game instead, right? Because back when I didn't have money to play Super Mario Bros., Lep's World was the only free alternative to experience playing Mario. I mean, I was more of a Pokémon kid, and my only experience with Mario was playing a lot of Mario Kart, the original one at a retro arcade that one time, and Super Mario Maker. I used to make a bunch of levels as a kid, and the same for when I used to play a bit of Lep's World as a kid, but I've never got the chance to beat all the levels in Lep's World. That is, until I decided to spend the past month playing not just Lep's World, but all three of these games and beat all the levels, to see what I've been missing out as a kid. And after playing through all these games, would I consider Lep's World a bad Mario ripoff? Tara, what do you think?
Lep's World, one of the games of all time. But is it a ripoff? In my opinion, yes. My general rule of thumb comes in how you describe the game. There are plenty of different and unique games out there, but when you look at a game and say it's another game, and then list a couple changes, chances are you're looking at a ripoff. The entire foundation of Lep's World was directly taken from Mario. The blocks, power-ups, and enemies all act about the same, and even when accounting for similarities in the 2D platformer genre, they're a little too close for comfort.
Well, in that case, although I kind of had a difficult time structuring this video will be just me taking a look at these games and see if it's exactly the mobile game I remember it to be. I don't plan on talking about the company behind Lep's World, mainly because, based on looking at their website, not much is known about them, other than making solitaire or some shit, and these are the only videos available on their YouTube channel. Anyways, let's get started on the first Lep's World game. Possibly taking place in the land of the Irish, the game starts with this leprechaun sleeping peacefully on his pile of gold. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, a tornado swoops in, causing him to panic and take cover. And then the next thing you know, the tornado took away all of his gold.
I'm all out of money!
And so the leprechaun sets out on a journey to take back all of his gold. Rather than playing as your average Italian plumber or short garden gnome, you get to play as this Irish leprechaun named Lep. The game functions like any other platformer game. You run, jump on enemies, and collect some coins. Your goal for each level is to reach the rainbow at the end. Good thing it's not a flag or anything, because otherwise, it wouldn't make sense. Like all the other ripoffs, along the way, you'll encounter some enemies, like the red bugs, which are Goombas, snails for Koopas, sting bugs for Spiny, the chaser bugs follow your direction, and trap beetles for piranha plants. We also have the wasps, that can only go in one direction. Yeah, you can already tell that all the enemies are bugs, but I often feel the need to jump on them, from one enemy to the next, which feels weirdly satisfying and encourages me to keep doing that. And the fact that I can double jump makes me feel like I have complete control over Lep, but I tend to get carried away sometimes. Instead of those question blocks, the game has those shamrock blocks, which you can actually break to collect either a coin or a shamrock. Yeah, not really much to it. You're most likely going to pass most of them, unless you're looking for a shamrock. I say shamrocks instead of clovers because there's actually a difference. These shamrocks serve as your health, and collecting one will heal you, and you don't shrink when you get hit, because leprechauns are already small as fuck. An alternative to shooting an unlimited amount of fireballs are the pine cones, which you can use to clear out any obstacles. You can pretty much collect them anywhere throughout each level, but since they are limited, make sure to use them wisely. Though you don't have to worry about wasting them, since most of the time, you probably won't need them unless something is blocking your way. And there's always a lot to collect, especially when there are a lot of coins to collect. Although you don't have to collect literally every single coin in each level, collecting 100 coins will earn you a gem, and these gems can be spent on this and unlock some characters. Though it does seem like you need some gold pots to unlock other characters, which you can also collect scattered around each level. Though the problem with playing Lep's World on an iPhone is that because of the aspect ratio and the camera being stationary, you sometimes can't see or figure out where one of the gold pots are until you look it up on YouTube, and then go all the way back to find it. Maybe I should have bought an iPad when I started college, but why do I care so much about collecting all the gold pots? I don't know, I just felt like it. Even I had to find every hidden area just to collect the gold pots. Even though most of them are so predictable to find, in the second half of the game, doesn't have hidden areas anymore, and at least the gold pots are out in the open. I'll have you know that I am a master at collecting all the gold pots. Just not on the bonus levels because of that short time limit. Oh yeah, to unlock the bonus levels, you have to collect a certain amount of gold pots in each world, where the only thing to do is to collect as many coins as possible. Sadly, you can only play them once, but at least you can still use the gold pots you've earned to unlock more characters. Though changing characters won't affect the game entirely, other than replacing the pine cones. Did I mention that there are no power-ups in Lep's world? I guess technically the only power-ups the game has are the boosters. These boosters are used to overcome any obstacles, like this helmet, which is basically a superstar. For the rest above, you can also instant heal, gain maximum amounts of pine cones, and place checkpoints. I could have sworn there used to be a checkpoint placed at the middle of each level, but again, you have a limited amount of boosters, so it's best to save up some gems. To buy more boosters, or if you want them for free, then the only thing you need to do is to earn daily rewards, or spin the wheel to collect them. But don't get too comfortable using boosters, since you can literally beat the game without spending anything. So no, I'm not going to buy your stupid special deal. And now it's time for, there are no boss fights. You pretty much just play all the levels until the end of World 20. Also, apparently there used to be 21 worlds, according to the wiki, but I can't seem to find it anywhere. And no, I'm not counting the tutorial island, which I didn't even know was there until I completed the first couple of levels. But how do people unlock World 21? Did the devs accidentally delete it or something? I feel like this is something they should easily fix by now. In the end, Lep did end up finding all of his gold, which, to be honest, I kinda thought there would be more to the story, or more cutscenes showcasing that, but it is what it is. And that's pretty much it for Lep's World 1. There is this tournament mode, which I'm not gonna bother spending my money to unlock, nor are there interesting things to say about it, because who the hell uses VIP? The only thing VIP is good for is unlocking that one guy who looks like he's about to find the One Piece.
The One Piece! The One Piece is real!
Honestly, as fun as playing all these levels can be, most of them aren't groundbreaking, even as I don't have a lot of experience playing the main Mario games. But I will say that the only levels that stood out are the auto runner levels, since Lep's World did it way before Mario did. But I hate that there aren't that many auto runner levels. Trust me when I say that, out of all the levels in the game, there are only 2 auto runner levels, with the last one being at level 5-3. And it's even worse when Lep's World 2 completely removed it. Luckily that has changed in Lep's World 3, but I still prefer if there were more of these levels, at least 1 or 2 in each world. The game does get progressively harder at each level, and when it comes to making precision jumps and timing things, it can get really frustrating sometimes. Like, what the fuck is this? Why are there so many fireballs on some of the levels? I literally had to use these boosters to brute force my way through some of these levels. Honestly, I can't even tell if it's supposed to be challenging or just blatantly unfair, because I would rather play the levels with spikes in it. This is like playing Mario Kaizo, except I've never actually played it before. I've only seen Jane Animations play it. All frustration aside, if you're willing to put in the effort, you should be able to pass all the levels just fine. And the last thing I want to say before moving on is that the art style for Lep's World doesn't look exactly the best, but you can tell that it tries to be consistent, considering that the game came out in 2011. And the same goes for the music. It at least fits very well with the environment. And can I just say that the castle music kinda slaps though? Overall, if you want an alternative way to play Mario for free, then I'd say that Lep's World is a pretty decent game to play if you want to relax and have fun. Just as long as you avoid the ads and microtransactions, of course. Moving on to Lep's World 2, where things actually improved a lot since the first game. Better graphics, mechanics, the art style and music surprisingly make it look and feel like you're in an actual fantasy world, or Irish land or something. I also appreciate that they toned it down on the fireball stuff. Thank goodness. And best of all, no VIP, and better camera movements, meaning that I can finally see if there are any gold pots above or not. Oh, and we have an actual story. The game begins in a peaceful town called Leprechaun Village, where all the leprechauns are living a happy life. Then suddenly, out of nowhere, a thunderstorm arrives, terrifying all the other leprechauns, to which the evil wizard arrives.
Boom! Wizard surprise!
Lep hides in the well for safety, and when he comes out, the village is in shambles, and all of the leprechauns are taken. But not until something calls for him. The game functions the same as before, but with new mechanics like wall jumping, or wall climbing to be exact, grappling hooks, portals, swimming, and everything else that makes the gameplay more complex. The game also added new enemies like the bees, sea creatures, crows, and goblins with guns. They can be a nuisance sometimes. Though I should probably let you know that I'm not entirely sure what Mario enemies most of them are based off of going forward, because the wiki doesn't have that information. But it's still nice that they added new enemies that aren't bugs for once. But back to the video, the game finally made use of these shamrock blocks for once by adding new power-ups, like the time extender. You already know what it does. The shield, which functions the same as the helmet, the jumping shoes, so you can jump higher, and the running shoes, so you can run faster.
Do you have any idea how fast I am?
Or swim faster, because the underwater levels are slow as fuck. But other than the shield, these power-ups are pretty useless. Back to the story. The story continues with Lep seeking out some wisdom from the wisdom tree. We are told that the evil wizard, Mordok, has captured all the leprechauns so that he can steal their magic and take over the world. And the only way to defeat him is to defeat all the ancient guardians, to take their gems, gain enough strength to save the world. So yes, the game finally added boss fights, and nice enough to place a checkpoint for you in case you died. And when it comes to fighting those bosses, yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you, most of them are kind of mediocre in my opinion. I mean, I guess it can be fun for people who have no experience playing video games, and I kinda like how visually clear their designs are. But all they do is just walk left and right, walking faster once you hit them in the back, without even trying to attack us, despite holding a weapon, even if you always start off with 2 pine cones, and the health increases after each world. They just feel repetitive. Like, it's always the same strategy. You jump over them, hit their back, wait for the pine cones to respawn, and repeat, even sometimes holding onto a wall to do so, and using a helmet won't damage them. The only real danger here are the many variety of stage hazards, which can be easily cleared out to make the boss fights easier. I know the story involves defeating all the ancient guardians, and I'm not expecting a Dark Souls level of difficulty, but at least try to spice things up a bit, you know? Have them try and attack us and have some sort of special attack moves or something. Also, why is there no boss music? I don't know if it's because I played a shit ton of Terraria, beaten Cuphead back in middle school, and played a bit of Hollow Knight to know what makes a great boss fight. But these are how I imagine every boss fight would be. And I've also been playing a ton of Toho, and I just remember playing Starfy as a kid. Now fighting Mordok on the other hand, you can tell that they at least tried and made a decent boss fight. It's just him simply trying to attack us with his lightning spells, and then attack us faster when flying around. And it only took me 2 tries to beat, because the timer ran out the first time. I was literally so close to beating him on the first try, and I didn't want to use these boosters because that would be cheating. Also, what kind of scream is that? The story ends with Lep finally defeating Mordok, and all of the leprechauns are saved, thus saving the world. At World 8. The 7 worlds after that, they're just extra levels with recycled bosses. Honestly, I had no idea the evil wizard would be at World 8. I just assumed that the story would end at the very end of the game. Is this supposed to be a post-game or something? I'm not quite sure. Maybe the game originally had 8 worlds when it first came out, only to add more in the later updates. But I feel like World 9 through 15 would have been a great way to expand upon this story. But if not, then at least make it clear that the story ended, and that there are just extra worlds. And I also kinda wish that the last cutscene shows Lep defeating Mordok. I don't know, that's just how I feel. Now I will say that the boss fights were at least consistent with the story, even making the evil wizard an actual menace. But it doesn't change the fact that most of the boss fights don't feel as exciting as I thought they'd be. And at least when entering the final boss level, the music helps you anticipate what is about to come. A wizard's battle. Overall, I'd say that Lep's World 2 is a lot better than the first game, since the first game had very limited mechanics and no boss fights. But the levels are still not as groundbreaking as Mario. Also, I just want to add that as of editing of this video, I didn't notice that Lep's appearance has changed throughout the game, until I switched characters and saw that Lep was wearing some gear. You know, that kinda explains why he looked like that in the last cutscene. So yeah, that's pretty much it for Lep's World 2. I don't really know what else to say about the game, so I'm just gonna move on to Lep's World 3. The game begins with, from the looks of it, cleaning up the mess after a certain wizard attacked in the last game. And then all of a sudden, a group of trolls decides to attack the village and kidnap the leprechauns. Lep tries to save them, but gets knocked out. And after waking up, the trolls have fled the scene. And so, Lep goes on a journey, once again, to defeat the trolls and save his leprechaun friends. Why do the trolls decide to kidnap the leprechauns? No idea. I guess they just hated them for some reason. Or maybe they just wanted to eat them. The game functions the same as always, but from the looks of it, you can see that the game kinda looks like a combination of the previous two games, as the description suggests, with smoother gameplay, better graphics, and improved art style, combined with some nice looking background art. The UI shows when you run out of pine cones, which I think is a nice detail, and the music feels strangely comforting to listen to. No, seriously, it is so comforting to listen to. I could fall asleep just from listening to these songs. Whoever made these songs better get a fucking raise. The game also added more new enemies, like the spiders, frogs, poison flowers, spike bugs, piranhas, and pufferfish. And more new things, like chasing birds to earn extra coins, new types of platforms, all being color-coded, cracking blocks, shrubs, cannons, and arch fireballs. Oh fuck, the fireballs are back, all to make the gameplay even more complex than ever. And finally, more new power-ups, like the magnet, this weight thing, and we got this mystery shamrock block that pops out any random power-ups, but they're only made for collecting. The game has 12 worlds, but rather than your usual 8 levels for each world, you get 20, and 2 bonus levels. Oh boy, this is going to be a long one, and I should probably mention this right now, but I really love how the color of the shamrock blocks fits so well with the theme of each world. Better than the last two games. Anyways, back to the story. After Lep defeated one troll, he saves his leprechaun friends and went out to save more. And another one, and another one, and another one, until he saves the last leprechaun. And that is the last cutscene ever. Before proceeding to 7 more extra worlds, which is just there if you want to play some harder levels, with recycled bosses, because again, I did not expect the story to end there. I just thought it'd be at the very end of the game. Or maybe it's because the game originally came out with 5 worlds before proceeding to add more. Also, why is that one boss room located at an ice cave while all the others are located at a castle? The bosses in Lep's World 3 are still kind of mediocre. Hitting the first boss in the head wasn't too hard to figure out, but why didn't he swing his club at us? The next few bosses actually have attack moves. One has this shockwave attack, then the next has the spinning attack, then throwing weapons. That's pretty much it. I don't know why the next one doesn't have any attack moves, but what I find interesting about level 520 is that right after you hit her, 2 sting bugs spawn in, which I guess is a good way to keep the fight interesting. But why not use that again in level 1020? But still, this final boss still became a downgrade for me personally, mainly because she didn't have any attack moves, and I did not feel any anticipation leading up to this. Why not be like Mordok? Anyways, it took me a while to beat all the levels in Lep's World 3, and I'd say that it's even better than the last 2 games. One of my favorite levels, other than the autorunner levels, are the ones where I have to start from the bottom and then climb all the way to the top. It's how you know you're about to reach halfway through the world, or about to finish it, and then move on to the next world. But alas, I'm reminded that Lep's World is a Mario ripoff, and as much as I love this iconic leprechaun, and the levels are fun, I would rather play some real games, like Celeste for example. Also, small note, I was able to save up some gems to finally unlock Long John, so I can find the One Piece, and whenever I jump, he feels a bit floaty than all the other characters. Huh. Is that why he's called Long John? Is this what he's like in the previous 2 games or something? And that's pretty much it for Lep's World 3. I mean, the game also has multiplayer, but I don't know how it works, and I doubt there will be anyone willing to play with me. Alright, I think that's everything there is to it. I'm not going to be covering this spin-off. Even though I love how the art and quality looks, the gameplay plays pretty well, and added some mechanics that I'm pretty sure has already been done. And this boss fight is unironically better than all of the Lep's World bosses. This one is just a weird Walking Dead version of Lep's World, ripping off Mario, and not as memorable as the iconic leprechaun we know. And the story is not even about Lep himself. Trust me, I've played through all the levels, and the way this random bozo looks pisses me off for some reason. He doesn't even look like the guy who would say, "It's Lepin' time." There's also Lep's World Run, but according to the wiki, the game was taken down for apparently copying Cookie Run, which I don't know why they would try and copy Cookie Run, and I'm not going to go too in depth because I just want to end this video already. It's been long overdue by now. So, what have we learned here today? Well, we've learned that Lep's World is honestly not that bad of a Mario ripoff. While the gameplay and levels are more competent, and the art looks pretty nice, it doesn't do a lot to differentiate itself from Mario, gameplay-wise, but regardless, I still had fun beating all the levels. Before I made this video, I wasn't sure if people would actually care about Lep's World, since it's a Mario ripoff, and I don't see a lot of people talking about it. But who else would be willing to make a video about Lep's World and the memories we had as a kid? I think the reason why people would find Lep's World nostalgic, even for me, is because it's free. And it came out in the early 2010s. Just like the classics. When I was a kid, deep down, I kinda knew that Lep's World was exactly like Mario, but I didn't care, and playing Lep's World was the only way to experience playing Mario for free. I mean, I only had enough money to play Pokémon and Yokai Watch, and asking my mom for more games would probably get me in trouble. But the fact that it's on mobile is probably the reason why it got millions of downloads. And if there's ever going to be a Lep's World 4, then here's what I want in the game. I want boss fights that are not boring, but also engaging like the games I've played. I also want the game to come up with some unique and original mechanics that doesn't exactly play like Mario. Like how Celeste is one of the best unique 2D platformer games out there. Like, do something fun and unique with Lep, you know? And I want to learn more about these characters, like this Elder Leprechaun, which I assume is his mentor figure or something. And Lep's girlfriend apparently. And please don't copy from Cookie Run. Anyways, with that being said, thanks for watching, follow me on Twitter, and now would you excuse me, I'm gonna go back to playing some real games, like Toho for example, and I should probably start playing Pizza Tower for the first time.